city. That's what I'm talking about. Like shadows in the night, completely unseen.
How's that? It's a camera flash. Surveillance is showing heavy foot activity.
We're taking hostages. Let's rock and roll.
I came across super creepy, okay? We will find you then.
My sons, I have trained you your whole lives to protect the city above. But I fear you are not.
Give me the camera.
Oh, look, he's doing his Batman voice.
Back off, Ram.
Do not say a word about this to anyone. If you do, we will find you.
Yeah, we'll find you. I'm sorry, Nick.
Sensei, you must stop Shredder.
Ready for its greatest threat.
We're taking your armor to the next level.
Shredder.
Come on!
Portugal, one's fighting robot samurai.
Why not? Hold on!
Together. You are stronger than he can ever be.
Let's go save my brothers.
In this video watch movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, we will discuss the storyline, summarize the plot, and explore the cast and character. Additionally, we will cover the movie's production and box of the performance. Finally, we will provide reviews and share personal reaction. So, let's get started. All M titles are updated, including opener dish Mutant Ninja Turtle, which has their $24 million worldwide. Guardians of the Galaxy now add $33 million opener into the storm. Step Up all in the old shower. Done of the Plant of the Apps. Lucky by Hold Neighbor. The Past Anarchy. The Farting Never Star Dragon 2. X-Men Days of Future. Past, Kanan, Kyoto. Info Planted, and Transformers. Age Off just received Sony's final number on SexTab and 22 jump rate a little after 3 p.m. Second update Sunday, 2 p.m. We have added opener into this storm and about 15 more title from Universal Fox Wet Bros and other including John of Planet Apps, which opened in Germany as #1 in the marketplace. It has yet to go in China and has already passed the lifetime grass of rise of the Planet Audi apps. Disney Witchcross, a $2 million international box office. Mark also has another $500 million plus international player on hands in A Maleficent. See below. Also, the comedy sequel has become the biggest opener of a year in the UK with a $4.5 million witness there and a total come of $20.9 million. 5 is besting Transformers 4, but just a hair behind the original $22 million opening in the 19201. There will be no direct try by Breakout, but we did put in a highlight from China, Korea, and Japan as local title, are already strong in these tarot trials this weekend. First of Sanjay, 946 million, Northern 46 AM, after shocking $65 million this weekend domestically. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle opened to #1 in Sin of 19 market, including in the big market of Russia and Mexico, to take in 929 million on to 771 second in Russia. It opened to #1 with $11 million or 13%. Out of the Planet, the apps, and nearly doubling the number pick in our marketplace. Guardians of the Galaxy in its second weekend out of the In Mexico that opened to #1, crossing a better than expected $7.1 million from 63. Local besting last weekend's opening are Guardians of the Galaxy, which took in $6.5 million. Paramount can also best for a breakdown. The franchise opened in Japan as a #1. And what about the Guardians of the Galaxy? It has now grasped more than a $313 million worldwide since Boeing last weekend by a $1,476 million domestic DE. After this weekend, he took in the $41 million this weekend in more than 50 market, but has yet to go in some big DAR, namely China, Spain, France, Germany, Italy, and Japan. So is still rocking and rolling around the globe, with Russia and UK becoming its strongest. Terry tries so far, we did $23 million and $22 million respectively. In Russia, it has already run over Captain America, the Winter Soldier, the first Captain Chan, and Iron Man, the first one. No, small feat. And in Australia, it was number one on to bring a $6 million, and Soviet Previous has called together a strong $8.2 million. It will open in France and Spain next weekend and won't hit China. Until October 10th, Guardians Worldwide gross on IMAX SEC is now at $30 million. After grossing $3 million on 16 years, Max International take 40 franchise account $14 million with France Warner Bros. Into the storm face-off with a Mutant Ninja Turtle in Russia this weekend and debuted at number 3. All major titles updated, including opener Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, which has $94 million worldwide. Guardians of the Galaxy now had to $33 million worldwide. Openers in the storm Step Up All and Hold, Our Tone of the Planet, Lucky Boy by Hold, Neighbor the Purrs the Fort in Our Star, Now Trail Your Dragon too, Jocksman Days of Future Past, Kyo Inferno, Bluntly Dandy Former Age of Extinction. Just to see Sony's final number on Sex Day, and 22 jumps a date a little after p.m., second update Sunday, 2 p.m. we have added Open Storm and about 15 more titles from Universal Fox Nanodor, including Turnout Planet Art, which opened in Germany as number 1 in the marketplace. It has yet to go in China and has already passed a lifetime gloss of Rise Planet apps. Disney Wish Cross, a $2 billion international box office. Mark also has another $500 million plus international player on hand. Has Infant Sea Below, also the comedy sequel to Has become the biggest opener of the air in the UK, with a $4.5 million ver, and the total come of $2.9 million in. 5 is besting all firms for Bessa, here behind the original $22 million opening in 2011. See below for more detail. There will be no title try by Breakout, but we did put in the highlight from China, Korea, and Japan as local title. First update Sunday, 9:46 a.m., after checking $65.5 million this weekend domestically. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle opened to number 1 in 17 of 19 market, including in the big market of Russia and Mexico, to take in $29 million on second in Russia. It opened to number 1 with $11 million, or 13% ahead of John or the Planet of the App, and nearly doubling the number 2 pick in the marketplace Guardians of the Galaxy in its second weekend out of the gear in Mexico. The title opened June number 1, grossing a better than expected $7.1 million from 658 blockade local basing. Lot Weekend's opening Air Guardian of the Galaxy, which took in $6.5 million. Ace of Extension has become the 9th highest grossing film of all time, which $9 million after pulling in editor $17 million in 58 tarot try. The studio has now opened a film in its final 2 terror tries of Japan and Spain. What is Summer for directors-producers Michael Bay for a breakdown. The franchise opened in the Japan as a number 1 U.S. title with a superb $6.4 million gross in 307, local a 10% jump over the previous events of the Pollen's opening weekend there, to $2.6 million for another number 1 from 382 local and in its 4th weekend in Germany. It's no secret just how Flesh movie fans can even come to be their favorite character. The game reimagined, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle has proven even the muted and amphibious are expected to look as a real way to comic fam. Fans already own the latest Ninja Turtles thriller reveals. Not only a first look at Shaw's new design, but a clear look at Leonardo and Donello fans get a first look at a take on the turtle in a previous leaked poster. But most of the criticism among the most devoted follower kicked off once the teaser trailer was released. The main topic of discussion was a more humanized faces, once again erasing requests of how just much of a changed Oris could get over the surrounding film kept a separate spirit of the source material alive. The Sakarian team has already offered extensive analysis of the teaser trailer, and the latest trailer's release date via the film's official Facebook page uses most of the same photos and narration, but reflings for a better look at every one of the House Zero. Kim filmmakers have put those demand to be cyber techno equipment. The cool but rude nerfs, and even elder peek at Sense's S launcher. What the trailers makes clear is that a more humanized faces of the turtle is clearing going to be used for every member or team. However, it's our 10-dish out team, and a potentially problematic as some of the early design concept may have sounded. It's no Sega, just how fake movie fans can be when it come to be their favorite character being our imagined and teenage mutant Ninja Turtle has proven that even the mutated and ambitious are expected to look a certain way to be comic fan, whether fans are ready or not. The latest Ninja title trailer reveals not only a first look as Shredder's new design, but a clear look at Leonardo Raffles and John Cello. Can a first look at Wood take on the turtle in a previously poster? But much the criticism among the most devoted follower kicked off once the teaser trailer was released. The main topic of discussion was a more humanized Fisk, once again raising the questions of just how much of a change and get over if the surrounding film kept the spirit of the source material alive. Des Greengrand team has already offered extensive analysis of teaser trailer and the latest trailer released via the official Facebook page uses most of the same footage and duration, but with fans saving for a better look at every one of the half-shell heroes. What the trailers makes clear is that a more humanized faces of the turtle is clearly going to be used for every member of the team. However, as outlandish and potentially problematic as some of the early designs concept may have sounded, they don't look so bad in live action. 4 months fans have worried about a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle film reboot from producers Michael Bay and director Jonan Livesman, following a number of the controversial filmmaking decision. The casting of former Transformer star Megan Fox as April O'Neil, rumor danger to the titular turtle origin story as well as a modern makeover, party heroes in a half-shell in just 1 week before release. It was still unclear whether Williams was the movie's primary villain and remained inside of the sure armor. However, no Diet Nation mutant ninja turtle in this theater. We finally have answer to fans' biggest questions for our official thought on Google Man's adaptions. Read over Teenage Motor Ninja Views, or listen to our team episode Underground Podcast. If you have already seen a movie, or do not mind being spoiled and tuned for our explanation of the new J&J origin story, as well as informed to have casual movies and learn which aspect recommend, and have to be harnessed the TCR mutine as to combat disease infections and the poisoning in the human body. During experiment apples have take care of their test subject are for turtle Leonardo and Raphael, ever after Dr. Personnel range of research through plan for the mucosin. He attempted to destroy the research and was killed in the process years later, stressing a lead and investigative journalist for Channel 6 News. A quote of familiar Japanese Slee, assembled with the connection to her father's research, unable to pass up the chance to learn more about Dr. O'Neill's dead. April's investigations lead her into a conflict between the Floyd clan and her former turtle pets, now a team of the crime-fighting new giant Bill-Willing giants, While 2014 April O'Neil is in line with the most familiar iteration of the character news reporter who stumbles upon the NIL while investigating the food, certain Chan fans meeting the childhood backstory, came out of the nowhere and was for into the Ninja Turtle Reborn, simply to give April and the turtle a shared, after all the fighters. O'Neil character is either deceased, our pre-appers in most version of the TV entry mythology. Yet, Mr. O'Neil has appeared in a of Jimmy programming, especially as a sporting character in the 2012 animated series. In that version, Dr. K. O'Neill works as a psychologist, Nario Jantes, but his adoption by the Krang-atrician is still the insetting event that first bring April and the Teeters together. Dr. O'Neill was even mutated into a bed like this during the show's second season, until his statutes returned him to be normal. Furthermore, this is not the first time that Jimmy franchise writers have connected to the April 2nd science community since the iteration of the comic book series. The larger Threes animated show saw the heroine working at least for a time as a research assistant to Dr. Baxter Stockman of her more well-known occupation as a news reporter, and even had her responsible for first naming the 4 turtle, like in the movie. As mentioned in the previous section, the Ninja Turtles and Splinter were just ordinary test subject in the Atticus Mutant experiment. It is April and Dr. Ono that named the turtle after this artist and painted his step with a dab of purple, blue, orange, or net brand to help identify them. The basis for their personal coloring polling letters nails that apparatus and Splinter from her father's lab, deposing them in a CGR after their mutation. Sublinger followed Dr. O'Neill example of caring for his daughter by raising the mutated turtle as his own son. In order to keep the brother, he prohibited Leonardo and Raphael from venturing above ground to Disagreet of New York City. But as a turtle became restless and obsessed with his human popinter to be his son, discipline turning to a discorded material martial art book for guardians. As a result, Master Supreme studied and practiced as martial art and then passed the same skill and values on to his now teenage mutant ninja turtle. Still restless and numb with their own unique sweep, the turtles again sneak out when Supplier is away, fighting their growing fourth land threat from Big Jet, until they are discovered by April. O'Neil, filing report Teenagers Mutant Ninja Turtle reboot, would feature on Alien's original story for the titular hero. The film actually followed pretty close to traditional backstories for the turtle. Most versions of Jian mythology suggest that it be created following accidental exposure to the TSR, as opposed to be intentional experimentation, yet after that initial immutation. The unfortunate titles granting animations as Shadow is mostly in Sunrise, with a source material, albeit with the addition to their visuals, design that help differentiate their personality beyond headband collage correction. Nevertheless, the biggest departure in the new film is most Sublinter's backstory, which in most versions of the mythology has been directly tied to Be-Rise Shredder. In the original comic book series, Subliner was a portrait of the Benny Ninja, who fed Japan only to be hunted on and killed by a rival warrior. Prior to be Yoshi's dad, the Red was already a proficient martial art, having already shadowed his honor practice session. Warrior. As a result, once the plunging and the turtles were mutated, the Red visit to not in training his apprentices as heroic warrior for months in anti-fans were trying to be determined whether Alex Sketch's Bond shadow armor. following comment from actor William suggesting that the characters after Go was not going to be in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Nevertheless, now that Films is available in theater. We know that Search is actually a student of Saki, and that the iconic villain is still the man inside a blooded battle sword. Even now, little is known about his version of Saki since his backstory. For over 2 years, the Teenage Mutter Ninja Turtle reboot has been a contention project, especially when it was first revealed that former Tom Farmer lead Fox had been cast as beloved turtle ally Apple in the month since the Ticks have reacted with equal outrage to a host of other revelation from the Turtles' visual makeover. No Team Nostal, to the addition to the Journey, Swall as well, has long removable heroes origin. Story, among others, as a result of frustration, has routinely been directed toward producers. Michael Bearman regularly blamed from ruining childhood via his non-formal franchise, while the film's sexual director, Jonathan Lesman, has mostly flown her vitrolic fan a theater. In addition to the film score by the billion-dollar Life Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle features a new turtle-powered name, Song Shell Shock from Jose Jola Sign, and Kill the Noise and He Met Me. Snake listen to the full song in a video at the top of his piece updated, with lyrics. Despite some eye-rolling lyrics, the song should serve as a catchy guard track, as well as background music in the final run of Jimmy and Jay trailer. Understandably, believe moviers who have already returned, a Timmy and Cherry Board will find Shell shocked to be another soul, crushing a friend to the Ninja Turtle brand, even more so than the coming out of their shell. Still, it's hard to be argued that a new song is any more alicious than Vanilla Ice's Gamby appearances. Once Shocked was rendered to the masses. Paramount released a new posters and pair of extended taggies for the film's back with a new track. The videos are composed of mostly old photos, but there are a handful of fresh shot for F to power pour over. Have a look at her new posters, as well as TV Sport Justice and Lock Below. Manifest Mutant Ninja Turtle elevator scene was one of the funniest in the whole movie, and it was completely improvised. In 2014, Paramount Picture released the first film in the Stage Mutt series, directed by Jonathan Elsman. The movie follows the half-shell Heron Leonardo Tallow. Jeremy Raff, Allen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle was a solid box office but grossed over $49 million worldwide. Unfortunately, the film did not enjoy the same kind of success with the creatives who land as well and necessary entry in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle franchise. It also had the dubious honor of earning 5 Gojan Award nominations in the category, including War Picture as Character, and was a prequel, remake, repo, or sequel. That said, the reboot had quite a few. Funny moment, and one of its most amusing, wasn't originally meant to be in a movie at all. The scene in questions take place during the climax of English Mutant Ninja Turtle 2014, when the fearless fearsome Infrared as a skyscraper whose radio bed are using to spread a deadly virus to all of city, as a turtle are in the elevator making their way to the building. Roof breaks, when suddenly start beatboxing and his brothers follow. So while the scene in the video below around 1:35 mark. Thus, this somewhat powerful Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle elevator scene only came to be because the movie's visual effects surpriser Pablo Hermans noticed the actor who played the heroes were goofing around during filming. When in between ticks and dancing around here, co-star frogs, her man thought the woman showed how much chemistry the cast had. and want you to work something similar into a movie. The reboot says was prematurely canceled after sequel lock Out of the Shadow underperformed at a box office by the Teenage Mutant Ninja. Turtles franchise's later homage to it was Funniest Moment, a Season 4 episode of Nick Nickelodeon animated series that aired between 2012 to 2017, titled Choka vs. World. SK version of him randomly start with boxing in a moment that mirrored 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Elevator Sim, while 2 are in the work. Tish Ninja Turtle 2014 reboot artist is defending his divisive live-action turtle design, produced by Transformers director Michael Baer. The film acted as a theoretical film centered on a titular superhero team and a reboot of said franchise, which previously included their live-action movies and a CG animated TV, and 2007-2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle explored the origin of the turtle as a former pets of April O'Neil, who were experimenting in her father's son's experiment and transformed into a group of gram-fighting mutual. While 2 new adaptations are in the work, Dennis Ninja Turtle 2014 reboot is cleared as a defending his devices live-action turtle design produced by Transformers director Michael Bay. The key. Film acted as a theatrical film centered on a two-layer superhero team and a reboot of sad franchise which previously included 3 live-action movies and a CGI and animated team meant in 2007. 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle explored her audition of the turtle as a former pair of April O'Neil, who were experiment in her forest cells experiment and transformed into the Globe out of crime-fighting and mutant Megan Fox. Lady cast of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, alongside Johonyi Alan Jeremy, Howard Williams, Danny Woodburn, and Tony Jonathan Livesman, the man behind our Access Stay, The Beginning, and of the Titan Directly 2014 report on Mission Ghost Project protocols, Josh Go, Bobson Names, and Devil, and even Doy. The film scored largely negative reviews from critic and audiences alike, with criticism directed toward its consistent tone. Nearly a decade after the film first hit, the actor Dav to reshare the fans' revolved design of the Turtles in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle 2014 movie reboard. The artist behind a reassess of his live-action turtle Vizan responded in a third thread with his thought on a matter defending his work and saying he will still fight for a include on a Tular hero. I wish we would make some changes of even another opportunity today. S-Fan said below, while a number of element are Mutant Ninja Turtle keyboard franchises, where the focus of criticism from critics and Otis alike. The live-action turtle design was one of most prominent, with many finding the inclusion that is Mutant Ninja Turtles property has always been divisive in its cinematic endeavor. Some have found most nostalgia for the films from now, while others preferred a classic animated series. There was an Atom with a live-action adaptations in 2014 and 16, but they never connected with the Oars. Now, a new animated adaptation's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle is out in theater, having earned a near-perfect score on Rowan mortally filled viewer with excitement. The finished result is something much more fun than those more top-trap viewer might expected. Mutam's story follows. Leonardo and Jim working to be accepted in society, much to be charging out her mutant grandfather devised them to interact with a human. This mission lets me some good human and bad, mutant to body, dangerous superfly that is less equal or rollicking and very funny adventure. Each of the letters have their own ambitions involving the human world. They will believe they deserve to fit in with the human. The boys usually appear in a world to run, arrange for supplier. They stay out late, pick up girls' groceries, and even sneakily watch movies in the park, as they all want a human life. They cross-part with a high school reporter, April O'Neil. Her reaction to be that is not at all what they expected. She does not have the reaction of fear that had warned them about. It is a surprise, but it's start of a mutually beneficial relationship for all the characters involved. April and Go decided that for a breaking story, she would capture a voice being heroic. This forces them to be crossed by part with the Spurfly and his mutant family. Johann Cena, Paul R., Rose Barron, Post, and the Dark Boy see these fellow mutant as a friends they have been wanting all along, if all goes well, much to Ara's dismay, since he wants the story until Superfly's plan is revealed. He and his family want to turn all the animal in New York into super mutant. This is when the turtles realize they might not have the friends they had hoped for. The titles go along with his plan up to a certain point when they jokingly CDR non-bro and a loud brawl occur. The Thor massive fight eventually leads to be captured by the company in TSR, led by a Q she want to see the titles O for her own purpose. The titles are eventually saved by Discipliner, who was informed by Apple that the boys were captured. Once the team is back together, their true mission is clear. They must work together to stop Superfly plan to enslaved humanity. This required the mutant to come to realization to a brawl. Superfly's family does not want to be enslaved humanity. Once the team deter and a mutant thinks they have defeated Superfly, they come to another realization. They only push Superfly into the O, making him strongly than ever. He comes out of the O as a disgusting creation that eventually unfuses more zoo animal. That is when Overgigantic Dream of her realizes they need to go to the human world. Reunited, all the mutant, thanks to a speech from Supplanter, decided to try and save the city. They arrive in New York, but do not have them warm. Welcome you to hope for all of New York. Thinks the turtle and your friends are the real enemies with a city and a muted supper fly against them. All hope seems lost. It is not until the boys are nearly defeated that come to see the dream, when he can't even gain the Opir Superfly. Subliner finally receives help from the people of New York that is saying to Apple, broadcasting and overcoming her state fright to tell the people of New York what is actually happening. Then the real fight begins against the agenda and enhanced Superfly. Superfly is finally defeated, and the heroes rejoice their victory. Supper even Gurus chants and loved with a mutant scumbling with all the celebration. Supreme had welcomed the mutant to their family. They all do so by allowing the family to join them in their life in the sea. With appearing good for the new mutant family, the turtles can fulfill their dream of going to high school. As the actors enjoy their new life, it is revealed that they are being monitored by Santia Yodam. Her plan has failed, and she was not turned to the Ford clan to tell us down. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle franchise has always had a rookie history in pop culture adaptation. Most of the time, we tend to put on some thick noslesia glasses when thinking of the original Nism and cartoon, since it wasn't without his fault. But what do you expect when you are dealing with the exhibitions of a comic book about Jan Mutant Turtles that are ninja thought by the right censor, who learned by washing his owner? So every time there's new cartoon comic Toyland video game movie, there's bound to be some liberties taken, and it's made with the notion that they decided to go with the most of op mentalities into the new Jimmy movie. Yes, I have seen the trailer, and you did nothing to me. Yes, I have seen the resid, and they are ugly as crap. Yes, Michael B. is involved, and it's not looking good. Yes, I have seen what they did to Dewey Transforms, but do you love it? So I open my mind as wide as I can, and I will give this new version a chance. It can't be as bad as their coming out of the shell tour, and I will try now to be like my love for early 90s. That was good, my judgment. Let's begin with the Apple O'Neil on our element that seemed to be changed from Ayu. She started as a lab assistant, then was a news reporter. In the newest cartoon, she is teenaged herself, dealing with school, teenager, some of them turtle, and her own love of pizza. In a movie, she's once again a reporter, albeit one who only gets a story handy to her as he hear more. The first red flag that popped up was when Megan Fox was announced, but to play her and out of the blue choice, which probably came about because of eye candiness. I have never seen me a fan of MS Fox, but unfortunately she managed so handy her role with the place to sustain her scene. The unfortunate part of this is that they rely too much on April to carry the movie. It basically starts and ends with her. Her introduction was all about her wanting to be in the news reporter Big League's upload point, which never gets resolved. Sure, it sort of detects due to her meeting titles for it, first time, but we forget the whole news thing even happened and make me think so much could have been trimmed to save us from several pointless and boring, darkly human sense. Speaking of, why is here her role is, can't be considered a cameo, nor you can say she adds anything to the story. She either ordered a character something or she's surely a piece pair for money. Her and Will role could have been fused together into one, and it could have smoothly moved things along. Have to be there with so much focus on April to lose time on her boss. April tend to move the plot along, but like I mentioned last story of, depend too much on her character. I am all up for girl power moment where the so-called damsel in distress can hold her own and manage to kick, but no. And again, but this is the Teenage Mutant Ninja, now the adult Meeble reporter Apple who joins, come Turtle movie, granted fiction. Fox does a decent job of handling her sim, does not work a big challenge, but have gone into annoying terror her so easily. I was worried that would be ridiculous, but I'm happy to report that she avoided making me roll my eyes. What she did avoid is boring the hell out of me the majority of time where we are, as that the worst part is when they decided to involve her in the turtles' origin. We avoided a direct correction that the turtles were from space. When the whole alien Dable came out, it was clear that at a very least, when the fans wanted to be respected, was a fact that they were turtles. They were ninja, they were teenager, and of course they were mutant. So sure, they may not have arrived from outer space, but the original story probably became even worse. There's a one time I could not bet on to my open-mindedness and let out a Lord groan without spelling it too much. I am sure involvement will make my fan ever out-breast. In fairness, we don't have a bad rat who learns from his masters, but the kind of wish we had, that timeline is all wonky. Every character's actions are super random and convenient. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to let my childhood obsession face me, but this is less to be defense and vapid. Their war defense is what it did. So supplant. You no longer have a calm and wise master. You have a dull rat that decided to learn from a book who has an anti-sensei who is super gross and does not offer anything aside from the obligatory dramatic past for his 4 turtle children. Well, of course he is super gross. Have you seen a rat lately? But Simon creators have done laborious to make something more visually appealing. Not everything has to be grounded in reality. We are talking about Jan Ninja Turtles. Here the turtle design have been the biggest complaint for this movie since the viewer preview, and I reiterate that I could have been more visually appealing. We could have been seeing some more inviting, friendlier titles, but no, they have to be helper-toing Blue Pro title, but there is nothing we can do. Their hide does provide some higher enter what is in the trailer. I can't say they grow on me, but at least they are not outra getting over. Their appearances, I can admit they affect our job. No, at one point I forget I was watching CJ Creation and decided to roll without and wish them interact with real-life allies and enemies. This is their movie after all, and at least they get to use their weapon this time. We do get to see the turtle kicking, but the cracking joke. At least they are trying to remain true to the turtle personalities. Predictably, there are lots of big 3D exploration and relentless stewinces. And Given J Films is produced by Michael Bay. The editing and action scene is so typically frantic. You can barely tell who is doing with the end to be home. Bland and entirely pointless. This is one film that needs not have been made. I'm going with 1.5 out of 5. 14-ish modern ninja. Stay home and take a nap instead. Michael B. has a producer's co-credit in this report, which might explain a loud, frantic action bombast and ample camera charm devoted to a close shot of Fox's post earlier. The tattoos has been suitably updated in keeping with the Charm Pro is no bra, and they don't say to anymore. Thin plot aside is prepared with just enough humor and maintains a student-paced word. The plot remains consistent, too consistent, because they are absolutely no twist in it. You could watch The Swim with Does Eyes Unplugged Ear and still wake 5 minutes before the end. And still, now what had happened in the last 96 minutes, the original films are not very good on a filmmaking level. But whatever was on screen and never been done before, everything about this film's Wreckmaster's plan is to New York today on the sort of the medic we need, to Hygie jogs their entire channel and telecast their video of Vanilla, the teenager's mutant Ninja Turtle. If you are someone who grew up watching the Reptilian Brother in cartoon movies or otherwise, then you are sure to enjoy this film. Agreed. There is not much traditionally to the plot, and at times the film feels rushed, but its actors grow in this movie and give it more soul. Desping by a few of the character this movie deserves a watch. If only they mirrors had put a little more effort in the story, Teenage Mutant Ninja Daughters would have been the perfect blockbusters. Back in 1990s, Stav's banners, lumping beaks again, become the indie SM that famously teed the cages of the BBFC, which had a long-standing aversion to martial art weaponry even when wielded by men dressed as giant turtle. This noisy, perfectionally reboard replaces Rubber Sid, but somehow managed to make its dearly predecessor seem stringly. The story, which had ironic charm and is originally calming S format, is as before mutated rail, living in a sea beneath New York, talkin' eating pizza, and dishing out ninjas justice. The film is directed by Jonathan Lovesman, but the dead brand hand produces Michael Bay is evident in a short of Megan Fox's, and advertised for Victoria's Secret in a pair of Legion, that along with the flat is a panic humor over our blown reaction sequences and a pre-born badly that it is stuttering Transformers sound effect, like most Michael Bay movie, Teenage. Mutant Ninja Turtle is movie that is almost Blue Pro from film critics. The movie is done. The dialogue is adro, and it enjoys the structure of the movie, is to jump from one scene to the next. Will Ram, or the heroine of the movie, also does more damage than good from the start of the movie to the end. Honestly, April O'Neil is possibly the jumper heroine in any home movie. However, Tish Mutant Ninja Turtle is a movie about 6-foot mutant turtle who happen to be ninja and are led by Jan Talking Red. Honestly, how much do you expect from this movie? Sure, there are a lot of people who love the original movie, but that movie is as cheesy and eye-rolling as any, and most people who love it just love it for the Chinese on it. But at the end of the day, it is nothing but dumb ridiculous, and there is no reason that the movie can't set out to do anything more than that. The new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie opens with the April interview, a jack worker about a robbery, by a mafia-style group known as a Food Clan. This entire scene is much arrived off from Batman that is even funny. However, to give the movie some slack, the film has influences on its sleeve, even having someone call out for using this black man voice. It is mismatch of every superhero movie we have already seen before, but it never shine away from it either. One lead to the next, and soon April O'Neil find a turtle and puts out their limbs in danger. Thanks for stupidly. There has to be a lot of the credit given to this movie for really making each of the turtle unique. Sure, I feel barely match up with the same character from the original way is little too much like Egan's Plunder from Ghostbusters, Annie a little too goofy, Adam but each of the damn are for real as his character. The same can be said for Leonardo, but she out of 4 are not bad. April O'Neil is a different story in the original movie, in the cartoon, and in Coming is very helpful and useful character in this movie. She leads. The bad guys arrive to be Judges Underground, Hide Out, Guess the Way, Act Like an Obsessive, Fool. The movie has a roommate for her whole comment, make it clear the filmmakers know how ridiculous her character is. The new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, live detection and comedy-based production, everything is over the top and borders on ridiculous, but it make the movie fly. But the little charm to contemplate a gag in logic and silly extent, Dark City needs heroes. Darkness has set over New York City as Sheik and his evil Foot Clan have an iron grip on everything from the police to the politician. The future is leave until 4 unlikely outcast letter arrested from this Jose and discovered her destiny. Man Fox Allen Jeremy Hart battle review I can still recall waiting in line adding a pair's first movie theater back in 99 in a day. An original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle film was released an unexpected hit at a box office. I remember the film being exactly what inspired Phil with Incest Love and Styles B, kicking action by our repetition hero, followed by 2 sequel, and once the TR reboot in the form an animated ad in a world that is seemed to be have totally blocked out the titles were comic book regression of 1984. And have demonstrated staying power through the air in television series and video game. However, it seemed like another big week. Again take-owned a ninja would languish in a glenning stage forever. Originally intended for release in 2012, Paramount Michael B. Former's Age of Extension podcast's Lives, man-directed live-action reward is the stuff that Nostia Killing Dream are made out of. I am sure the concept of taking Teenage Ninja Turtle has always been as silly as it sounds, but there is something about it. Labored effort that drives that point home over and over, leaving the most engaged of Jimmy and Chief Fan Oars in a bite of a stopper. Producers Michael Bay has made nice with his former Transformer star, Megan, putting to bed of Rife and resulted in her being replaced in that franchise. He has cast her as Blanky News reporter April, but Fox's comes across more as Vare girl material than investigating journalist, delivering each line as if she's ordering Chinese takeout. Foxes in misplaced emotions are truly the mystery that needs resolving. I am convinced Vi Arnett and William Furr signed up for the same to Pro 1 month and for RJ Anna the same with Person. Why else would these be usually decent actor have made up in role that should have been filled by soap? Star more on Fox's level. The normally attentive can't make with his lemon roll, and Fisher simply gives off chaining. Validators themselves are nicely rendered and given. Genoeses, Battery Unknown, and Journey. They are known almost to be lifelike, at least when they were in a rubber suit, during the 90s. There was arguably more of the required suspension of this early movie when the distance within 2014 it just come across as creepy. Perhaps a better problem is that the overall scale of the film, built as a mega millions-dollar city, would be blockbuster. The campy voice-cracking nature of the Turtles is all about within a soggy secret that makes us like a delivered origin story with diet plot point liberally lifted from the narious other comic book flick. The whole decidedly scheme enacted by the Shredder and his food and clean barrier. Such a close remember to that of the Amazing Spider-Man that Marvel Studios should be the calling their liar. Still, a law sold from Marvel would be the most exciting thing that could happen for the film. Supposedly more in the line with a recent comic aside from an adventurally speculous little happening here. There would be of interest of anyone outside of curious die-hard Turtle fan, and to that unimpressively digital effect, and a Hugh reimagined Shredder that reads more like Edward Hunting, and you have a late summer dad. It's truly time to let this teenage reptile graduate, just as so many after fans have grown up in 30 years since they made her debut. There was no hiding from the message of the negative criticism this one received on social media as a production of the film progress. My plan was to give no win open expectation. My memories of the TV entry growing up as a kid, and a mind clear of any review on a movie since its release. Whether or not this helped after seeing it, I can honestly say I was very entertained by it. There is no questions the dialogue is for a much younger est than myself, but it was what I remembered from a youth and bode a butt-funny humor that appealed to my childhood personality back in the 90s. The storyline was decent enough for an older audiences and seemingly perfect for kids. It keeps a rather generic but part any action in routinely to keep your attention throughout. There is no doubt gives of a new generation will be drawn to this film. The new look of the character, that there was enough effort taken into the quality of the script to make it enjoyable enough to entertain for the older aces who grew up with Jimmy. Sure, a more interacted and research structure plot could have been written, but it would come at its risk of losing the younger Vermic market it was aiming for and as possible an end product sale that could result for a film that had a wide range of the demographic to entertain. It did an excellent job. The special effects were great, and while many may not like the new look of the tortoise, I found it appealing, and I definitely brought out the inner Greek inside me. They were F to B. Look at is one who can remember the past Sims of the early 90s. It was an amazing upgrade from the bulky costumes and singular appearances. Each of the turtle in their appearances were given personalities to much, and I can see what this will start up a whole new generation of kids having their own favorite character. The wearing post personalities also allowed for Stone some arrange in the angel of comedic delivery between the group. While she was in the late half of the second act, it still was a fun film from start to finish. The action sequences were well orchestrated and visually stunning, to say Dalius. It was even better with some 3D laying added to bring the true depth and scale of the high underlying moment. The fight choreography was fun as well and also seemed very similar to what I remembered as a kid. Each had a personality to their fighting skill set, which enabled for some fun moment and the fast-paced action. There was a clear ambition taken in crafting the fight sequences between and Ter. The shot were well framed and showed a good amount of reaction with other camera angles that once were successful in building such a strong cinematic moment at the right form to keep the flow moving. Overall, this was a fun reanimation already meant, and you can clearly see why sequel has already been announced. This film's managed to be refreshed, and my memory of the character I loved as a kid, and managed to add some update that only made our eyes more enjoyable. Many will bash this film's and metal rare attachment to it. But when it come down to it, this one was just purely enjoyable and without a doubt an adventure the kids will love. It's been 7 years since the Habitarian Rebel last grace of silver screen and not back from for an animative adventure, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Muted Mom says the Turtle Brother set out to win the heart of New Yorker and be accepted as normal teenager. Their new friend Abel O'Neill have them take on a mysterious scientist, but they soon get over their head when an army of mutants is unleashed upon them. For example, the Ninja title is a franchise I have always had an interest in, but need to delve more into, especially the darker comic book origin. What would make beings of fast space gleeful appeared, and acceptable 100 minutes that balance a voice house, a wacky over-the-top character, and a punky tone alongside Genie and Hart. Separate Animation has had a double a visually unique center this year, with Passing Boards, The Last Wish, and Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse, and how Mutant by him can be added to. Be that list, this truly looks like a comic book come to life with a trick pen and pencil line shitty, and detailed backdrop and ironing design for the merit of Mutant. It absolutely has its own defining style and completely up on it. The vision is a blast from their first chaotic encounter with April, a hip-hop back-in integration montage which had me grinning from year to year, and a bombastically big-scale final. Also, said soundtrack is back to be brim with rap banger. The cast lineup is filled with the recognizable big names in a mutant sport role. John Cena and her daughter themselves as brilliantly wise by 4 Young, and with no offense intended new and known performance. Nicolo Cole Brady, known and nailed our brotherly Bure, and love for each other. Ice Cube is a huge presence as a brazen level and power-hungry Superfly. Jackie Jackie Chan brings little wisdom and quakerness, splendor and eye-fasting smart yet, and Shia Paul is a refreshing spine on the character. I have been highly anticipating the 2014 release of the reward for Teenager Mutant Ninja Turtle, which is now showing in Trader, is produced by Michael Bay and and direct SN filmmaker Livesman, who filmed that really enjoyed this updated and modern take on the turtle, was always going to be a risky undertaking because of the nos people experiences watching the original film. Michael Bay has been getting a lot of said recently, and his mandate to be due with the most recent. But it's apparently 158 minutes of pure church. I don't have any issue with the Michael Bay, and he have enjoyed most of the 12 film with one of his production. You know what you are in before it means it was start. Keep an open mind with those one guys. He did not direct it, only produce to settle most of. You already been introduced to this world, and you know the story here. The title have been raised from birth in a lab and upon his destruction. The printer dad is left to be raised Leonardo and the Benede of New York City. The evil kidnapped sir dreamed to be take over. The turtle, along with a very determined and driven news reporter, April O'Neil, must band together to stop him and save the city. The cast include Megan Fox's Will Arnett, William Fisher, and W. the voice actor are Alan, Noel, Fisher, Johan, and Jeremy Hart. I'm going to be attempt to talk about a film without making the comparison to the original trilogy of film from the 90s. Firstly, this installment was made in 3D, were released in 3D. Anyway, most of the time, the film that are being showed in 3D these days are hoping to be enhanced. The viewing experiences and body most are part and did not needed. Michael B. always feels the need to be bigger and better, and I think sometimes is just easier not to try to out yourself. The one thing I really enjoyed about the vision was the effort involved in her displaying a great backstory, which I think is a film's stronger suspect. We got a bite insight into the dirt and was taking place in the past, and how it's left to be by him now. Find them says in I never read the comics, so I don't how well that aspect was covered. But I don't remember them ever all that much information. In 90s films, acting for the most part was solid. I'm not sure Megan Fox can pull off a lead role emotionally. I don't think she unrely. That necessarily baby is not an edited in a film like this, but I don't think she's going to ever make the change to more serious drama. Film the CG was very impressive, but with a budget of over $100 million, most of which gets spent on C, and playing the actor, I would expect it to look as good. The best part is action sequences between the Shadow Man, particularly in this final act. The main reasons most are as adult, which why these types of films so we can step out of reality for 90 minutes often, and the most part is that the biggest letdown of the film is, unfortunately, some of the casting, for example. I like Will, and I think his work in the RC's development was clear. He will forever to be, when to me and cameraman Vaughn in Jimmy, it just does not back. It's not his fault. But the line the writer gave him was just in the hope of the getting some deep force laugh, and his just came across like he was trying too hard. Without those jokes, I literally had no purpose being in the film. If that was not bad enough, you just know William as Eric, owner of a big wealthy corporation, is going to be turned out to be before the films even get underway. We all know that. On another disappointing note, the lack of the banter and own-liner from Over Turtle and Supliner changes everything I remember and love about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, other than the one pizza references and a couple of inside bedroom turtle. And the humor was non-existent. What the hell? Shredder's man looked like a knock of Special Forces and not old school ninja. Teenage Mutant. One of the best things about the 90s film was those ninja. Think of the battle week with Kano and the ninja in the shopping complex, which I think is in the second film. I was hoping for those types of note toward the original film, but got nothing. The way in which this was thought was also pretty rapidly got together. The second half of the film was better, but the action sequences, etc., on emotion went on, combining length of the scene with the way this player DC work as a turtle slide all from under the truck he is to say and lets the entire scenes down. This D's Mutant Ninja Turtle probably did not need to be made. I'm not saying it's not an entertaining enough less than 104 minute to kill, but it's just a very bad body book and predictable and product. If misses the mic on a basic level of humor and noia toward was the 90s film, the digital LA was a standout. But I think in modern day, filmmaking-wise, actor and title sword would have worked just as well. Was this a success, considering over $100 million was spent on making? Probably not. Is it worth a look on such at the weekend claiming the top spot? We don't even see detours and Ning the Forest goes open greater shelter status with a mere 90% positive rating on the Roach Tomatoes. The actor will honor the introduction of which this turtle and supper throws. The drawing will already know that a ninja turtle in a movie. You already showed him 1 minute indeed. Everybody involved actually was a movie they released. Why is April on Hot? For those of you unaware, April is a girl demanded enough to be hang out with a group of mutant in a sever. She has had a different in aggression over the year, but she have been conventionally attractive. There is a reason for that. There's a matter to be madness. She is supposed to be a white. She is not supposed to be well-adjusted. She's definitely not supposed to be a girl that we owe John of makeup. Here he or she is a Hollywood hot. Here. She's played by Megan Fox. At one point her as he made off subject of a joke. This moment confused me, and I took my several second to reel as well. I would never thought about a priest before at the very least. I would never thought about a press as being hot. Before it was all very confusing. The movie takes the character's warm cartoon loved as a kid and makes here, why must we do this? Why can't we have nice thing? I am not saying this because I'm looking on people who focus Apple on yellow hot. I cannot judge. I mean, I'm not above. Admitting that I master bird to guard from the rescue ranger once, maybe more than once, let's say. Just say it less once. But Gorge was where mean to be hot. She was a cartoon rodent who was a brilliant engineer first and a female second. April O'Neil was not supposed to be haterly also in this movie. April's O'Neil saved the turtles and supplant her from 13 when she was a kid as a trad burned down. It had been Wuzzo and working with a guy named Sag when he realizes that Sax was working very. He, too, was killed by the smokers. As of the rest of the film is you typical contemporary Hollywood product, we have got 300 style speed. ramping chill and orange anywhere everywhere CGI glore, and the secret that he leaves various character on the floor by the films. And more than that, the movie feels very small, is apparently made as a lead to the future sequel, but unlike the animated, are interesting in its own right. At least that movie had different interpretation of April and Friends. This one tries to do, and cartoon without the Tekken or any of the hilariously ridiculous mutant and reboot villain. It's very about as entertaining as a sound. The movie does have a few funny lines and vibes from the turtle. April and her colleague make fun of the early rumor that the turtle was going to be made into the Allen at one point keyboard that makes some cameo appearances as well. And anyway, join me a few years for the daily list Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Rise A4. The issue with his new version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle is not so much the plot, which of course is silly uncompleted, and a scamp of the actor who succeeded in being no more than what the second screenplay required them to be. The real issue is that much like the Y-ated 2011 Moped report, the title of characters are not allowed to be the start of their own movie. They are relegated to the level of the sidekick. They spare dialogue in sense and insequential, nor taking part in way any affection. Sequences, so much as blending into the background. The scene featuring them alone are not only few and far between, but are also so relevant to the overall plot that it came off as after. To be sure, the title characters have never looked better than the costume-consumed actor, which was the case in the live-action adaptations. The case with 2007, A Small Chimmy, and they are now brought to life via motion capture animation. And while there is no way to be made them look in realization, they really backed down, simplified him. Common chubby family, friendly cartoon character, wide eyes that convey anger of sadness or happiness, with just a light of the slanted blowline faces, that can smile or foreign grimace of the vessel, through effort of the character are made to be the oat. Why could the intention a film called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle do to be not prominently feature Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle? I am thinking hard here, and I'm coming up with nothing. As for the human characters, I was really rather indifferent about him. They do worse expected of them in a movie like this. We suppose I can't fool them for, and yet at no point we are made to be actually invest in them, to see them as anything other than cardboard cutters. I suppose this can be an effective approach if done accurately. Consider 1986 Independence Day, perhaps perfectly aware that there was no way to be smarter of the commercial. The actors reload the film with broad character that fit into the commercial mately. But in the case of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, the characters don't have that sense of the subtle parody. They simply inhabit the story going through demotion without giving us much of the research to be care. They are April O'Neil, a new reporter who obviously can't get anyone to believe that she encountered gadgetic taking. If she could, it might be her take more seriously, and has given their Jersey opportunities. There is her cameraman. Who never gets to do anything more interesting than react foolishly around the turtle, because obviously that's the only thing cameramen in movies are going good for, and then desin on a sport blade of people op work. What she got out of making an appearances in the film, apart from a paycheck, is something can't begin to be comprehend. As for the plot of course, it involves the Ford clan and the clan's leader Shredder, but it really seemed as if they were included out of the obligation to a franchise that as a VM to propel the plot. There's also that he was CEO of a chemical company, and his connection to O'Neill's dead father, which I naturally won't reveal, and then Jerry Zak, secret of the Turtle themselves. And again, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle is appointed by Number Section Committee, hoping to attract an odysseys that still enjoy the Turtle today, while also sparing appeal to an older artist. They may be familiar with a mutant. They may be familiar with a mutant from their childhood, through name alone, through this. This is a movie that will mostly appeal to a younger audiences, and yet it still carries to PG-13 rating despite the actual content branching nothing more than the object. The film opens with an animated or sequence hinting the mutant but audition, which is largely a waste of time since it's explorative within the stories of narrative. Thus the gameplay by Josh Abbs I just named is hardly additional, and directors do not. A film's no favor in the way he pieces together the opening method. Choosing to use April as a narrative mode, faces in scene mean to be a funny, as he found to be less than interplot to herself, her roommate for her cameraman's will of her boss. She also thinks it's a good idea to ride her bike at night in the ad shipping dogs and go exploring in an area where non-criminal activity has previously taken place. Fortunately for her, suffers of her first sighting of a vegan head mutant turtle, an accident that actually sets the entire plot in motion, in fact, and she being a smart and responsible individual, the entirety of the film might have never taken place. I don't want to be sound too dawn onto films. I did laugh at a new few, moment gets a few chuckers and a turtle, even have a few humorous moment, most of which belonging to be a voice by the fisher as keeps water and delivers the majority of the film, one layer, very few of which surprisingly are all directly watching, even catch his work. But it was within the framework of a movie largely made for an artist. For children to evaluate this as a movie, for adult is another story because it's not for adult, even if your intention might be exploited by a few homeless moment, an impressive visual effect. There is nothing beyond standard plot point being explored. That ticking clock is a utilizing in the most claiming scene are less than the specular, and one massive set piece is failing down a snowway motion, while usually unique impressive effects or Team Films effect comes with very sense of peril, no different than a barrel sequence in The Hobbit. This movie there seemed to be a capture of adult sense, a better layout, and give an estimate while 80. At least as I remember seeing them as a child, their love of pizza is not stopped on pizza. Heart is as a gene of upcoming Paramount releases Project Anime, which like Turtle is also produced by the Michael Bay, and a catchphrase and lingo are kept to the minimum thankfully and appropriately, considering term part. If I was of particular age, I bet I would have eaten up every bite of this movie. As it is, I don't think I have necessarily outgrown the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. But his adaptation is hoping to target to broad, and for me, to care much of it, if at all. The films open with an animated sex sequences, hinting at a mutandial origin, which I largely aware of, time since, is explored deeper within the story narrative involving fraud television's reporter April O'Neil and her previously unknown involvement in the lives of details and their father. Act namely the planger voiced by Tony. The narrative, as it were, include a mean of businessman focus on checking our no in New York City, and alongside a human more evil Shreers, using a content pub, which only Sad Businessman Company has. A Cures is not. Daddy always. Anyway, answer yes. It is the second play by Josh, and name, and even is hardly original, and directors does the films no favor in a way key pieces together. The opening third, choosing to use, a pro as a narrative, more pieces.